Free agency is fast approaching, so that means it's time to start tiering and ranking these running backs that are about to hit the market, right? Let's start at the bottom. We'll start at tier 5. For me, this tier is full of handcuffs. Your aging veterans that are productive in the right situation, your injury-dependent plays. There's a lot of things that need to happen for these players to work out. So with that being said, that group consists of guys like Samaje Perine, right? Jerick McKinnon, Jeff Wilson, Raheem Mostert. Those types of players are going to be hyper situation dependent, and the team they land on doesn't even dictate their value, right? They probably need an injury or a creative offensive coordinator to get them in the right spot. We're not really going to go and predict landing spot for guys of this value because it's a dart throw, right? They're going to get veteran minimum contracts, maybe $1 million, $2 million, but nothing major that's really going to shift the market. So they're available to every single team. Anybody that needs a backup, these players could land on their team. So predicting landing spot feels like a waste of time. Moving to tier 4, this group for me is full of, let's just call it rushing dependent players. Guys that I think are solid, but will operate between the 20s or exclusively in the red zone, right? They're not going to be your traditional fantasy superstars. They're a step above your handcuff. They're like a 1B in an offense, right? They can lead the team in rushing touchdowns, Jamal Williams, but really they don't bring much else, right? They're going to be situation dependent. They're going to be touchdown dependent. Who is this group of players? It's going to be guys like Devin Singletary, Jamal Williams, Deonta Foreman, Rashad Penny. They're not really inspiring fantasy choices. Really, you're basically looking at the guys that are going to be your plotters in the NFL. These are guys that can run for 800 to 1,000 yards in the perfect situation, right? Add 6 to 10 touchdowns. But you basically get a 0 in the receiving game. They're back-end RB2s at best most of the time. So when it comes to trade value, right, what do you do with these guys? Well, you can break it down really by where you are, in your dynasty team life cycle. If you're a contender, it probably makes sense to hold because if you're not getting more than a third-round pick for these guys, right? And trading a third away for a complete dart throw when you're looking at a guy like Devin Singletary who can run for 800 yards or Jamal Williams who can lead the NFL in touchdowns in the right situation, that has value on a contending roster. If you're in the middle ground or you're a non-contender and you're rebuilding, trade these guys away. I understand you want to wait and see if they, get that injury boost mid-season. That's fine. I prefer just to sell now, get my assets, let me take a shot on a dart throw that I'm more confident in will be, maybe on my roster by the time my team is competing. So there's no reason to hold anybody in tier 4 if you are not competing right now. Now to tier 3, this is where I think we actually find productive fantasy running backs, guys that'll bring back more than a 2023 third potentially, right? Guys that I think have meaning in the fantasy landscape. So that tier 3 is going to be volume-based running backs, right? Guys that give you rushing upside, receiving upside, maybe some touchdown upside, right? They're not going to be a true workhorse. They're not going to be a 70% opportunity share player, but they can carry a workload, right? They are going to be the 1A in an offense most likely. So when you're looking at these players, it's guys like David Montgomery, right? Damian Harris. He, I think, is better than everybody in tier 4. That's why he's not there. So Damian Harris, right? You have Alexander Madison, who I desperately want him to land in a good spot because we've been waiting for it, right? We've seen multiple RB1 finishes out of Alexander Madison when he's featured. Do I think he actually gets a 1A role? I don't. I really don't. I think realistically he probably ends up in tier 4 for value, but skill set wise, he belongs in tier 3 for me. I am in on Alexander Madison, but I have a feeling the NFL is going to ruin that for me. And then lastly, Kareem Hunt. This may be just wishful thinking on my part, right? He did not look to be the Kareem Hunt we have gotten used to seeing. Last year looks like he had really fallen off and he fell out of favor in Cleveland, which is why I don't think will be back in Cleveland. But if there's any player I think out there that can go ahead and turn back the clock, it's going to be Kareem Hunt. And if he gets the workload, he has proven time and time again, he has the ability and the receiving chops to be a lethal weapon in fantasy. So when you're looking at trade value, right? Are you trading these guys away? Are you buying or are you selling? It probably goes the same as it does for tier 4 and tier 5, right? If you're not competing, I'm going to try to sell these players for the sole reason of they're not going to help me. I don't care about older running backs, right? All of these guys are getting second contracts, so they're already past that prime window and holding on to them is just diminishing value. A guy like David Montgomery, he should be able to net you a 2023 second or better. He is one I am waiting till free agency to even kind of shop him because his value's down right now. But once he signs, people are going to understand, okay, David Montgomery, while he's not a great running back, he is a guy that could go for 200 carries and 40 targets. Like, that's a possibility in the right situation. And then the other three, you can lump them all together. I think Madison will likely bring you back the most, and the reason is, I just talked about it, it's the projection of upside. I think he's a good player. I don't think the NFL is going to treat him the same way, so if I can trade him for a late second, I'm going to do it. Damian Harris, Kareem Hunt, those are guys I feel like I'm taking what I can get. The price should be a late second, early third, but that may even be optimistic given how down everybody is on running backs in general, right?
This is what we get for doing a free agency preview right up to the franchise tag deadline, because I'm editing this video right now and we've gotten news so far of Tony Pollard being franchise tagged, Josh Jacobs being tagged, and now Saquon Barkley has also been tagged because the Giants got a deal done with Daniel Jones. So those three players have all now been tagged by their teams. We expect them to be with their teams at least for 2023, maybe even beyond if they can reach some sort of long-term agreement up until I think July is the deadline for that. So that has happened as of right now. Justin didn't know that whenever he recorded that. So just take those segments and player analysis stuff with the grain of salt that they have now been franchise tagged by all of their teams. So yeah, enjoy the rest of the video.
On to tier 2 here, and these two guys are, I think, going to have meaningful roles in the NFL without guarantee in 2023 and probably 2024, right? I am not treating both of these players as one-year rentals like I am everybody else we've talked about. For me, Tony Pollard, Miles Sanders are two running backs that basically should probably hold value regardless of where they go, right? The Tony Pollard skill set is apparent. We know exactly what he is. He is explosive. He is hyper athletic. He is a big play threat waiting to happen basically at any moment. If he sticks in Dallas, I don't really see much of a drop, right? He's still going to be treated as a top 20 dynasty running back because we just saw him perform at a very, very high level in Dallas. So I don't think Dallas is a drop-off for him in terms of value. I'm buying Tony Pollard right now in Dynasty because I think he holds value for at least the next 2 seasons. The other running back I mentioned, right, Miles Sanders, coming off of an absurd career season, right? A very, very quiet, sub 1,300 yard rushing season. I anticipate somebody using him and paying him more than the Eagles did. So Miles Sanders, right, you're looking at the Carolina Panthers, the Eagles themselves, the Kansas City Chiefs. Those are the 3 that keep getting floated out there. I don't see him dropping off, in terms of value based on where he signs. But, opposite of Tony Pollard, I do think no matter what he does, he will drop in value in 2024. So if I can sell Miles Sanders, ideally post-free agency when he has landed with a team, I think that's going to be the best move. Now, what would I sell both of these players for, or in Tony Pollard's case, buy? A late first is exactly what these players should cost. You're not going to get that for Miles Sanders until post-free agency if he lands in a good spot. Tony Pollard, if I can buy for an early second, great. If I can sell for a late first, even better. And our last 2 names here that land in tier 1, this is going to be a surprise to absolutely nobody. Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs is coming off of just an absolutely absurd season with the Raiders. He is a top 10 dynasty running back. There is no denying it. The receiving work is there. The rushing ability is there. The nose for the end zone. All of it is there, and he went out and just earned himself a massive contract. If you're competing, great. Go buy him now. Like any running back, if you're not competing, probably sell, but you need to be selling for top 10 value. That means mid to early first plus. It depends on what the rosters look like, but that is the target for Josh Jacobs. Saquon Barkley, right? Top 5 dynasty running back. The guy finally returned to form. He looked like the old Saquon, right? Maybe didn't have the receiving upside that he did his rookie season, but it's still Saquon Barkley. The man is a home run threat every time he touches the ball. He stayed healthy. He basically proved, okay, I'm worth the money, even at 26 years old. Go ahead, trade for Saquon Barkley, and if you're going to move him, top 5 value. You need to value him extremely highly, higher than Josh Jacobs, and that means the return needs to be fantastic. All right, guys, that is all I have for you. Again, if you like what we're doing here, right, subscribe, check out the YouTube memberships as well for extra videos, extra content from myself and Addison. As always, guys, thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.